Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I hope you're all safe and well. Welcome to another Chats with Children and my series looking back at 2020 and the positives and learnings we can get from last year, and also looking ahead to 2021 and getting some predictions from some of the opinion leaders across Pharma. And today I'm delighted to be joined as my guest, Dr. Andreas Mattern, who is the Director of Global Product Management Pharma at Syntegon Technology, which was, if you don't remember, formerly Bosch Packaging Technology. So hello and frohes neues Jahr, Andreas. I hope I said it properly.
Yeah, good. Frohes neues Jahr to you too.
It's lovely
Pleasure
to
to
meet
be
you.
here.
It's lovely to meet you for the first time as well. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to me today and look back at 2020. Before we do that, Andreas, perhaps if you don't mind, you could give viewers a quick overview of Syntegon for those people who are not familiar with the business and your role within it.
Okay, so we're the former Bosch Packaging Technology. So we're a full-scale provider for solutions for food and pharma equipment and processing and packaging equipment, and of course the corresponding services.
Brilliant. And your role within that, so what does that entail?
I lead the global product management for pharma. So we have around 15 different business fields in pharma, from tablet presses to vial fillers. And I do the overall coordination and the overall strategy, and also a lot of market intelligence, pharma trend scouting, and so on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for giving me that background. So let's look back at 2020 and let's start with a really simple question. How would you describe last year in one word and why?
Crazy. I think that's the only word that matches it. I mean, it was we had a full year ahead of us. You know, we were spun off from Bosch, new ownership. We had to launch a new brand. We have an ongoing transformation. We have exciting new product launches. So it was already a full year. It was, you know, a lot ahead of us. And then suddenly you have COVID, you have Brexit, you have US elections, you have killer hornets, and I don't know what. So it was, yeah, it was just the real VUCA world, you know.
Well, you're the third person to use the word VUCA with me in these interviews, actually, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the 24-hour news cycle. Sometimes it felt more like a 24-minute news cycle, you know.
I know exactly how you feel about that.
And that in pharma, where you're normally more used to the longer cycles, but there were so many things happening, and yeah.
All right.
So
Well,
crazy, I think, matches.
yeah, I
Mhm.
wouldn't disagree with you. So obviously, you just mentioned that you were going through a massive rebranding. You had lots of product launches planned. So looking back at last year, were you able to achieve the targets and objectives that you started out with at the beginning of the year when you
I,
look back at the year?
I would say overall, yes. I mean, the final numbers aren't in yet, but it looks good. And overall, we achieved a growth in the order intake. So even though all those effects, we were able to grow, which is of course a positive. We had successful product launches. So overall, I would say yes. I mean, of course, there's always winners and losers a bit, but fundamentally, it was a good year for us, I would say. And that we were able to grow shows that the product and the market and the brand launch was okay, that people still trust us.
Well, let's look at that in a bit more depth then. So uh, when did you actually start planning for the pandemic?
Oof. Very, very early. See, we have a very successful site in China, so we were already directly affected from the first effects in January
Okay.
itself. We have a lot of interchange of people coming back and forth for trainings and so on. So in January, early February, I think we had the first travel restrictions. We set up a task force to look at how it affects us. I know that in February itself, I started doing the first scenario analysis, how it will affect the pharma industry, which products will win, which products will lose. I think in March we had the first list of products which might go into shortage, where we try to contact customers that produce them, how we can support them on the service side to get production up. So I would say really from the beginning, when it started hit the press, we were there.
Well,
We were
actually,
affected.
well, obviously, then having a business in China as well,
Yeah.
that obviously leads on to my next question, which was what did you already have in place to help you? And obviously, having that, having that that business in China obviously did help you. What else though did you have in place, do you think, from a structural point of view, that help
Oh,
you sort of adapt quickly to the new norm, if you like?
I think it starts very small with little things like, do you have enough VPN connections that people can work efficiently from home? And we could do that. I mean, there were some hiccups, but fundamentally it worked from the beginning, from the first lockdowns, to really how your business is structured. We have in most areas a pretty modular product structure, which allows us to be fast, to react fast to changing requirements. Um, we have very good people, which is very important. Good and flexible, motivated people that you can shift where the things are going. And yeah, China. So we have a very large international presence, I would say. You know, we're really leading company, and we have own sites and strong partners across the world, and that allowed us to tackle a lot of the service and installation issues when the travel restrictions hit, where we had people in the field in place. So that that infrastructure, let's call it, was definitely helpful.
Brilliant. Okay. And what did you have to change as a business to adapt? There was obviously a lot of things in place, as you've just said. So what things did you have to change?
Oh, you can never have enough bandwidth.
Yeah, well, I know that for a fact. Doing this job, I can tell you.
So we increased that definitely several times. So, um, I think we had to. You have to. It's a lot is actually cultural. You know, accepting the digital solution, saying that yes, I can do it via Skype or Zoom or whatever. I don't have to meet in person. Um, going for video FATs. You know, the first ones improvised with a mobile phone and FaceTime, up to really professional with 4 GoPros filming live.
Yeah.
So there was a lot happening, and we had to we had to face impossible customer demands. You know, on delivery times where you. If I had heard numbers which were thrown at us, you know, couple of months before, I would say crazy, it will never ever work. And then in the end, everybody pulled together and we were able to do it.
Well, that's
So
good. Good to hear.
one of our consultants in our transformation, he always says, you know, outside of your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. And this is very much what happened. You know, we had to really do the impossible, make it possible. And I don't say we did it in 100% of the cases, but in many cases it really works in the end. So
Yeah, well, I think pushing you outside the comfort zone, you suddenly find things that you weren't aware that you could do. You suddenly find that you can do them as well, but you're pushing yourself a bit more, aren't you?
yeah, and you not just push yourself, you also have to let go. So in the past, when there was an installation somewhere in the world, you know, you would say, yes, we have a local guy, but some of us from the main site has to go. And suddenly it's not possible. He just can't travel. So the local guy has to be able to do it. And then you find some ways with remote support and so on. So you have to let go. Same for home office. You know, you have to let go. You have to trust the people that they work productively at home. And in the end, it works.
Yeah, well, that I think is one of the positive byproducts actually of what's happened last year, for me personally, anyway. That people have seen that you can trust employees, if you like,
Yeah.
to just get on with it, because people are very motivated,
Yeah,
particularly
exactly.
I think in life science as well. So that leads on actually to looking at the market, because obviously you said yourself just now that you were doing scenarios of how the market would be impacted. So from your perspective, how has the market changed since March, when obviously lockdown has been in full flow across the
Yeah,
globe?
I mean, there's winners and losers. You know, some areas you just have to look at the IQVIA. You see that, you know, the hospital administered drugs are a bit down, Nutra is up, and so on. So COVID related medicines, of course, up like nothing. Um, so this is obviously impacting short term. You see the general increase in interest in infectious diseases again, which if you looked at a year before, it was all orphan drugs and gene and cell therapies, and suddenly, you know, it's sexy again to talk about infectious diseases, not just for COVID.
Sure.
And if you look at the number of CMO contracts, it was, the last I checked in November, was something like plus 180% in CMO contracts related to infectious diseases. So of course, that's a big change. The question there is how long that will last. You know,
Sure.
is this sustainable, or is it like bird flu, where it was a huge peak and then
Disappeared, yeah, sure.
went down again. So
And
this,
what
this
a, sorry, what
yeah.
do you think about how the industry actually works? Has the industry changed, do you think, in terms of how it
Again,
works with each other?
the same thing outside of the comfort zone is where the magic happens. So people, it opened the door for the digital technologies. We had asked our customers a year before, do you accept a video FAT? No, of course not. We will come with 14 people for 2 weeks, and so we have new technologies in the market. I mean, look at how fast we were able to get vaccines which are working in absolute record times, which total breakthrough. We have new technologies, mRNA vaccines, and so on. So I think it was a door opener for a lot of things, and they will be here to stay, many of them.
Right. Well, that leads on actually quite nice. So looking at 2020, what positives do you take from a business perspective and then from an industry perspective?
Uh, yeah, the I would say really this door opener for change, for new technology, acceptance for digital solutions. So this is really this is there to stay. This will be with us. I think in the future we will spend a lot more time still, even if we can travel on Zoom and not in the plane. Our carbon footprint will go down. Definitely not so good for the airline industry, but I think for us overall, these are good things that it's happening. And some of these new technologies will be there. They have been now accepted in many cases and will be applied to different diseases. So this, I would say, it was a door opener.
Right. Okay. And from a learnings perspective, what would you take from last year? And would there be anything you would do differently looking back now, having been through the year, that you might not have done otherwise?
Do differently. I don't know. I think maybe we should have been even more aggressive in building up equipment beforehand, that we were able to meet those incredible, impossible customer demands. There we could have been even more aggressive. Otherwise, I think we did a lot right. We have a huge improvement in our service performance, in our service engagement. So this just has to go on, I would say, and we have to keep improving.
Perfect. Well, that leads on to actually my next question, which was that in terms of changes which you made because of the pandemic, what do you think is here to stay?
As I said, it's a door opener for these new technologies, and once those drugs have been accepted, those technologies will be applied, and this topic of automation and accepting digital solutions will definitely stay. So there's no turning back that wheel. The same for home office to a larger extent than before, and so on.
Right. Okay. And now let's look at this year. Obviously, you guys have already been planning and looking ahead to 2021 and putting your
Yeah.
forecasting. So, firstly, what do you see the new normal being going forward? And then let's look at some of what do you think the key development trends will be, particularly in the areas that you're responsible for this year?
Yeah. Again, it all goes in the same direction. So we have expanded our comfort zone. So we will stay working in that circle. I think now customers have gotten used to some impossible delivery times. They will maybe want that again, to at least in some cases. Digital remote is here to stay. So this is going to be the new normal. The big question for me is, some of these trends, will they stay? So will infectious disease be still on the forefront of a lot of strategies next year, or will it go again back to a back burner and we're back to orphan drugs and cancer and gene and cell therapies, which is of course a huge impact on the equipment if you have high speed, high throughput lines, or if you have personalized medicine, small batch equipment. And what I'm personally also quite interested to see is how these calls for local value add will really materialize, because you see a lot of governments and people say, oh, we have to keep the value add in our country, we have to do it locally, we have to be independent from the global supply chain. But it's not so easy, as you know, in pharma to set up a completely local supply chain, especially on the API side. So this will be quite interesting to see how, if there the rubber will really hit the road, and these things will actually happen, or if it was just good to say it now, but in the end the production will stay as it is today. So there I would say I'm not a full believer that it will happen to the extent that people demand it now in the press.
Okay, and in terms of sort of as you said, you're responsible for a large range of product lines,
Yeah.
and business units. So within the areas that you're responsible, what do you see some of the key trends happening there then in terms of 2021? I mean, have you got any new launches planned for this year then, and so on?
Oh, we have. I mean, we have a lot coming up in 2021. I mean, stay tuned. We are planning a lot of very nice product launches. We were aiming for an ACHEMA, which is not happening this year,
Yeah,
but
I know.
we will not wait. So we have quite a few interesting products in the pipeline. I would say in all areas. From OSD, continuing improving our continuous processing. We have exciting combi machines in inspection in the pipeline. We have deep learning applications in the pipeline. We have a lot of things coming in small batch applications, and in high speed we were always quite strong as Syntegon/Bosch. So this is an area where we keep our strength, and we expand more in the lower and small batch output ranges. So we've already done that in the past, and we have more coming. We've opened our new OSD customer center, where we have a couple of clean rooms, and we can really do process development and projects with the customers together. And yeah, there it was more of a soft launch because travel restrictions and COVID is a bit in the way for that. But here I really have big hopes for this year that we will see a lot of customers in our customer center and really get working there.
Right. Okay. And one question which I hadn't planned of asking you, but as you mentioned a bit earlier, I mean, has Brexit impacted the way Syntegon do business with the UK going forward, or do you think it's business as normal really in terms of sort of 2021 onwards?
I'm not aware of anything really gigantic happening. I mean, we have a customer base in the UK, but it's working. So this is going on, and we will see if now UK starts again insourcing more and trying to produce more, if they keep importing the drugs. So far, I have not seen a huge peak in projects suddenly that everybody says we have to produce in the UK now
Right,
to become
that's
independent. And with regards to changes in EMA and so on, that is more affecting our customers and not us directly as the equipment supplier. So I think there, at the moment, it's minor. It's not so much, I would say.
brilliant. So one final thing, then this is your opportunity to give a New Year's message from Syntegon to your customers and all those people watching. So what message would you like to leave everyone who are watching this video right now, an interview?
I would say stay tuned. It's 21 is going to be better. I think fundamentally globally we have vaccines now that are working. Weather will improve again. So I think once we make it through the next, 3-4 months, I think we will be in a much better space as a society, and so the years will be better. And we also have really a lot of good new products in the pipeline, exciting new products where I'm looking very much forward to launching them and maybe discussing with you what we can offer.
Fantastic. Well, look, I second that completely in terms of hopefully this year will be a far better year than 2020. So, Andreas, thank you very much for taking time out to talk to me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I mean, it's been really interesting to find out your thoughts. If people want to know more, I'm guessing they can go straight to your website and get more information of what you do.
Yeah, and we have a nice LinkedIn channel where we post a lot of the updates and so on. So I think the best way to stay up to date with us is on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Well, I'll put the links above the video so people can see that.
Yep.
So all that's left to say is, Andreas, Happy New Year once again. This time I'll say
Yep.
English rather than German. So I wish you a happy, healthy, and successful 2021.
Yeah, same to you
And to
and everybody watching, listening.
I agree 100%. And everybody who's watching, exactly the same. I wish you all a happy, healthy, and successful 2021. Stay well, stay safe, stay positive. Until next time.